person who traveled all the way from America to Singapore. Why? Normally people travel the other way around, right? From Asia to America. And today, our guest, he's a developer. He is happy to say as a developer, digital nomad, and spice survivor. Food, culture, and definitely he will be having a lot of laughs, stories, and cultural shocks all the way from Silicon Valley to Singapore Valley, right? Okay, let's welcome Neil from America.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome and nice introduction.
Thank you, Neil. Before I jump in, can you pronounce my name? My name is Tyagarajan Nadarajan.
Absolutely not. If you give me 1 week to practice, I will be able to nail it. But right now, can you say it one more time for me?
Tyagarajan Nadarajan.
Okay. How about I go with Tia for now?
Tia is good.
Okay.
Tia is good. Maybe after 1 week, we will meet him and ask whether he trained or not. Okay. Neil, can you explain who are you? What is your identity?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Neil Orzechowski. I come from the country of the United States. Within that country, I come from the Northeast, so New York and New England area. I am a human who enjoys traveling, enjoys tech, enjoys music, enjoys sports, enjoys laughing. I guess I enjoy a lot of things. And due to life's plans for me, yep, I found myself in Singapore. First as a husband, coming here as on a dependent pass with my wife, who is a chemical engineer, and then moving on to focusing on my own career as a developer in software.
Okay. When you landed in here in Singapore, have you ever seen, oh my God, am I in the movie? That kind of shock, have you?
Yes, absolutely. The feeling that I was in my own movie started before I even landed. Okay. It started with the flights to Singapore. From New York City, JFK Airport, the flights direct is around 18 hours,
cool,
nonstop.
Yeah.
And the first time that we had moved here, I had never been in Asia before, never stepped foot in Asia.
Okay.
So coming as a small town boy from a rural town in New Hampshire in the United States, I already felt so special coming to Asia and stepping foot, on the ground in Singapore, seeing the big buildings, seeing the bustling traffic, experiencing the exciting streets. It all felt cinematic immediately.
What is one Singapore law which shocked you more?
Reputation of Singapore's laws precede it. So I knew before moving here all of the laws because it gets shared through word of mouth or through news articles. So I was not shocked by any laws, actually, because I was well equipped and well ready for all of the laws. So I was not surprised by anyone individually, but I was impressed by how well they are able to keep these laws enforced. You might hear that chewing gum is illegal, but then when you're here, you actually see that, oh my gosh, there actually is no chewing gum. You don't see it anywhere in the stores or anywhere on the streets. So it's very surprising how well they're able to enforce their laws. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Generally, Asians' body language or Indian, especially Indians' body language, we always say yes and no, right? Our body language is more than our words. So have you ever confused, like, what these guys are telling? Like, have you ever experienced?
Yes, especially when I first started working here, I thought I was always being met with a critical reception to my ideas. I thought that the sentence that I just said in a one-on-one or in a meeting setting, I thought that it wasn't well received. I thought that I was saying the wrong thing, and then I realized over time that a head movement, which to me would say no, is actually indication that I'm being listened to and that someone's attention is on me 100%. And I didn't know that right away, but I've gotten to learn that over time. So now I'm comfortable, but at first it was an adjustment.
So have you practiced, like, say yes and no? Have you?
I have practiced in the mirror once or twice, but I haven't. It hasn't become second nature to me yet, where I'm doing it in my work life. But I have practiced in the mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the food? When you always taking the burger or that kind of food and coming here in Singapore with rice and all those stuff, especially spicy food. How do you adapt those things?
I personally am very adventurous in all aspects of my life, but particularly food. So from a young age, maybe it was a facet of being the youngest of 5 siblings, but I always had to compete for my meal. If I didn't finish eating my food quickly, then I wouldn't get seconds. So I've carried that forward in my life, and now whatever is placed in front of me, I will eat it very quickly, no matter what it is. If it's spicy or strange, anything from frogs' legs to really spicy chili peppers, I will eat it.
Okay, that's nice. So you don't need any tissue paper while eating?
Well, I didn't say that.
So still you're crying.
I am human. I still feel the spice, but I'm open to eating it, even if I do have to dab my forehead a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any special food which you like and you want to adapt the same food back in US?
Yes. When I was living in the US, I wasn't always living in a metro area. At some parts of my life, I live in New York City. Some parts I lived in Boston, Massachusetts. I also lived in more rural areas. And in the rural areas, you are limited in your diversity of food options.
True.
So when I was living in those rural areas, I would have cravings for Asian foods that I could get easily in New York City. I could just walk one block and go to a Thai food restaurant, or walk one block and go to a sushi restaurant. And so it was very hard living in those rural areas where it's so easy in Asia, because especially Singapore, where there's great Asian food everywhere. I had really good biryani for lunch, and then for dinner tomorrow night I might get really good sushi. So and if I do crave Western food, that's also accessible to me. But since living here, I tend to go more on the Asian food.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So your favorite food is biryani, can
I have biryani the most often.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have it almost every day for lunch.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever started preparing those food in your home, or you're sharing your experience back to your home with your friends or family? What was their expressions or comments about it?
Sure. Good question. And I think there's 2 parts of this that I would like to answer separately. One is what the food means to me, and one is what food means to my close family and my friends who don't live here with me, who live all the way across the ocean.
Right.
So I'll address those independently. So for me, I don't cook any of the food currently in Singapore because it's so available.
Yes.
So I wouldn't make my own biryani because I can go and get the really good quality, right down the street. But when my family comes to visit, or I tell them stories when I'm back home visiting, they are, their eyes get very wide and they're very impressed by all the food options. So whereas pad thai noodles might be a treat for them, I can tell them stories about how I went to Bangkok and I had this really good pad thai dish there, or I went to Vietnam and had incredible pho. And so it's really fun to tell those experiences to my loved ones who aren't here with me and maybe come to visit sometimes. But it's a story of adventure, an endless story of adventure that I can always draw on. I can say, when I was in Cambodia visiting, I was able to eat ants off of the tree.
From
directly the red ants. And it's a delicious, very tart snack. Sometimes used for seasoning and in Khmer food. And so I tell this story to my family and they're very impressed. Yeah.
So you always see an ant as a fruit, is it?
Yes. Now when more recently I was traveling in northern Thailand doing a jungle trekking. And with our guide who was there, I saw some ants and I said, "Oh, are those edible ants?" And my guide said, "Yeah, I'll show you." And he took a handful and gave some to me. So now I see ants as a food source now.
That's nice. So you don't need any sauce on that, is it?
Exactly. It's really it's kind of like a sour candy when you eat them. Yeah, very cool.
That's nice. Okay. Yeah. So do you have any precautions before our viewers is taking the experience?
Precautions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a very strong stomach. If we're still talking about food.
Right.
Yes.
No, normally, like viewers, when right by the time Neil says that ant can be eatable.
Yes.
Right?
Don't. The disclaimer is don't try this at home.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So do this with a licensed professional who knows what's healthy and what's poisonous.
So other than ant, any like lizard or cockroach, have you tried?
Yeah, I think I like to learn about different cultures, and food is a great way to learn about those cultures for better or for worse. Meaning, in some areas of Southeast Asia, the economy might not be as up to speed as it can be elsewhere. And at times, especially during the tough times of hardship, you sometimes, as a people, have to rely on these alternative food sources to get you through the hard times, such as cockroaches or bugs. And so, for example, traveling around countries in this area, I'm able to learn about that, but also sometimes try these special foods just to see what they're like. So cockroaches, or one thing that I've been too scared to try is the balu egg, which is an embryo egg that you can find in some Southeast Asia countries where haven't gotten up the courage to have that yet.
Cool. Okay. Now I'm a bit scared on that. Cool. Okay. So since you are exploring all those things, how about language? Do you happen to learn any other languages from Asia countries?
Great question, and actually a little bit of kind of a sore spot for me, because I'm very bad at languages, and I feel bad as a one language person. It was a skill that I never picked up as a kid, and when I come here as an adult, it's very difficult to learn Mandarin, or Singapore is a country of four languages, and I can only speak one of those, which is English.
Right.
And so I'm very impressed by those who can speak more than one.
Right.
But for me personally, I haven't tried to tackle either Malay or Tamil or the Chinese dialects.
So in your whole family, whole life, you know only one language.
Yes, if you're counting, human languages. If you're counting programming languages, I think I know a few more.
Okay, cool. That's nice. Okay. Also, normally, office, home, when you talk to your family, always in English only, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So in that scenario, what would be your identity? How do you define your identity?
Really, really wonderful question. And I, as a single language speaker, my identity is not tied to my language, but it is more my the cultural quilt, which was in my upbringing. So my name is Neil Orzechowski, which is an Irish or Scotch-Irish first name with a Polish last name. So we have a melting pot in the U.S., a country originally and hopefully soon to be again a country of migrants. You have a melting pot of different cultures. So in my family, I was part Polish, part French Canadian, part English, part Scotch-Irish, part Norwegian. Like if you do my DNA test of the 23andMe of my family, it's a very wide bifurcation of cultures. And growing up, I was able to take parts of those and celebrate them through the help of my family, my parents, and my extended family. For example, my last name is Polish. At birthdays, we would sing a birthday song in Polish. So we say "100 lat, 100 lat, nie żyje, żyje nam." And growing up in a musical family, singing is easier than talking in another language. So this is a song I sang every birthday growing up. So I know that song quite well.
Can you sing?
Sure. 100 lat, which means live for 100 years. The song means so. 100 lat, nie żyje, żyje nam. Yeshkirash, nie żyje, żyje nam. Yeshkirash, nie żyje, żyje nam. And that was our birthday song instead of happy birthday.
Okay.
So one example. There are others as well, including Norwegian and Swedish songs that we used to sing as well.
But your pronunciation is nice, very good. Even though I don't know that language, but still there is no hiccups or so. Can you pronounce vanakkam?
Vanakkam?
See?
What does that mean?
That means greetings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, vanakkam in Tamil.
Okay.
Greetings.
Okay.
See, first attempt
Now
you
I've
did
learned.
very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Since you are in Singapore, of course, you have visited many countries, Cambodia, Thailand. What other countries have you explored, and which one do you like more, and why?
Sure. When I first moved to Singapore, it was the first time in Asia, and as with a lot of Americans, we tend to stay in America. There doesn't tend to be a lot of travel as part of the cultural norm in the U.S. Since we're in North America, to our north we have Canada, and to our south we have Mexico. And it is common to travel between those two countries. But if you want to go to Europe, or you want to go to Asia, or you want to go to Africa, any of the other continents, it's quite a long haul from the United States, other than North America and the neighboring South America just below that. So I had not done much traveling at all, really, until I came to Singapore. And since I've been in Singapore, with the aid of having a disposable income and being able to, once my student loans were paid off, I'd have more money for traveling. Then I really jumped into travel and embraced it kind of wholeheartedly. Among that was going to Europe for the first time, mainland Europe. So it's been fun exploring Europe from time to time on very special trips. It's rare I get to go to visit Europe, but mainly I've just been enjoyed traveling around Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And my number one country that I want to travel to is India.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you've never been to India so far? Have you?
Not yet. I haven't had the opportunity yet,
So
but I'm
which
always looking
place do you want to go? Because India is, it's very big.
Yeah.
So which part of India do you want to?
I know a lot of people from the south of India, so
Cool.
I think I would have people to stay with or families to visit if I were to go there first.
Okay.
But I also want to go to maybe the bigger cities like Mumbai,
Okay.
where a lot of the famous dishes that I have enjoyed throughout the years, maybe some of them are also from there. So I guess it comes back to the lens of food. I want to try all the different foods of India, so maybe I would have to travel more than one geographic location within the country.
Back in Singapore, durian is our national fruit. Have you ever tried?
Not only have I tried durian, I really enjoy durian and I eat it regularly.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you feel it while eating it the first time?
I was excited to try it for the first time. I had heard about it.
Okay.
It was a famous fruit in Singapore, and it has the moniker the king of fruits.
King of fruit.
So if a fruit is called the king, then I am excited to try it, because then I am also royalty if I eat it.
Okay.
So I was very excited, and almost immediately I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
The complexity of the flavors, and I particularly like it in other things. My favorite sweet treats to keep me cool in the hot Singapore weather is a durian popsicle
Cool.
or a durian milkshake. Both are very good.
Okay. We have talked about food, language, cultural, and especially that ant, right? Have you ever felt as this is the best thing in Asia, which is not there in US, or Asia is way ahead than US? Which one do you feel it?
Yeah, there are some areas. I think a lot of my life as an expat living here is comparative.
Mhm.
I think it's a natural thing to do, is to compare what you're used to and your current status quo. So I do that frequently.
Okay.
And there are certainly things that I like about both. If I were to pick a few about Asia specifically, and my lens is shaped and viewed through Singapore, which doesn't necessarily represent all of Asia, but that is my lens, which I have to acknowledge. I think the idea of a super app is something that we haven't adapted full-heartedly in the United States, meaning we have some apps that work for food delivery, and some apps that work for payment, and some apps that work for transportation. But in Asia, some of those apps are all combined into one in a very helpful way.
Okay. Little advanced way.
A little bit more advanced. And in Singapore, I've noticed that the GovTech is also quite advanced, which I think we could learn from in some other countries. Some of the apps that you need on a day-to-day basis built by the government are quite, or just available to the public here are quite good. So I like that. Public transportation is always a contentious point depending on which city you're living in the United States. And there's a focus on that here, which I admire. Being able to provide cheap and quick and reliable transportation to your citizens is very important. You want to embrace all socioeconomic classes that live in your country and your city, and transportation is a way to bring that all together, instead of forcing those who are less economically well off further into the outskirts of the city. Bringing them all together with the heartbeat of transportation is admirable. So that's another thing.
Have you ever worked back in US, the Silicon Valley?
So in New York is on the other side of the country from Silicon Valley, but all of tech, no matter if you're in New York, where you have a street called 6th Avenue, which runs north-south. It has the joking name of Silicon Alley, because it's not Silicon Valley, but it's the New York version. But all of tech in the US is influenced by the tech boom of Silicon Valley. So even if you're not at a startup, the changes that were brought about through the culture of startups are felt everywhere. So even though I didn't technically work in Silicon Valley for one of the FANG companies, their influence is felt everywhere.
So the reason I'm asking, like, how do you compare the Silicon Valley culture and Singapore or Asian tech culture?
Sure, I can speak to it to the best of my experience. I think there is more of a startup culture in the US. Yeah. So when you have more of a startup culture, things tend to move a little bit faster. And when things move faster, you need to change. You need to adapt as a company. And so that's why that's one of the reasons. There's some not so good reasons as well, but that's one of the reasons in Silicon Valley, the compensation and the bonuses and the expectations can be really, really high, because there's this this hustle culture where things move really, really fast, and those who are able to do things really, really fast and do it really, really well get very well compensated. And I think I'm not saying it's better or worse, but you don't see that quite as much here. The compensation levels don't tend to be quite as high, and I think that's one difference that I see. Okay,
we are at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you like to share something to our viewers? How do you feel about it?
Sure. I feel very strongly about this, and I'm really grateful and have had a lot of fun talking through these topics with you. I would like to say that diversity of culture, diversity of thought, diversity of people is paramount to a happy life and a successful country. And I am grateful that I am able to add to that in some way, being in Singapore, adding my perspective. And mostly, I'm grateful to receive knowledge and learnings from those around me who have different backgrounds from me. Diversity of culture leads to diversity of thought, which leads to a better society and a more achievements.
Thank you, Nel. That brings me a line in Tamil, which is Yadum Ure Yavarum Kelir, which means across the world, everybody is my relatives, which means we have to travel and explore and gain some knowledge. This is what 3,000 years back Tamil poet says. And now you are doing that way, like you are exploring each and everything here in Asia: food, language, culture, people, and even ants. I always, thinking about the ants only, how we are able to, so that kind of exploration skills you have. And thank you so much for your time over here, and thank you so much for your support by sharing your experience with us. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.